Hey there. So in this video I'm going to show you how to have an about box pop up that displays information you want to display, such as who you are, the company you work for, the date the program was created, etc., as well as the splash screen. So just so you can differentiate between the different forms, with this form chosen, I want you to, well, you should first of all name it. It's good practice. So I'm going to call it Splash About. And my text is going to be Splash About. And I'm just going to change the background color. So basically, if you run this form, we have no code or controls or anything other than the form. That's what we see. But when a program is loaded and it's a large program, you usually see a splash screen. And the reason is to, one, advertise so that your programmer can make money, and two, give you something to look at while the program loads so you don't get bored and walk away. So your programs here are very short, but you should still know how to use a splash screen. Now, choose Project, add Windows Form, and if you scroll down, there actually is a built-in splash screen in VB.net. But personally, I don't like it. It's complicated, and it's not what I want, and I end up having to delete almost everything on it anyway. So to keep it simple, I'm just going to choose a plain old Windows form. So that was New Project, and then a plain old Windows form, and you should name it Splash. Just Splash. Don't worry about the extension, and click Add. And when you do that, over in your Solution Explorer at the top right, you will now see form1.vb and Splash. So when I run my program, I'm still seeing my original Form 1. That's what this is. So let's double click your Splash, and that's why I had you color it, because it's not colored, it's a plain old gray one. And on your splash screen you could put whatever you want. So you could throw a label in here that simply says, "Welcome to this game." You know, whatever it is you want to say with your font, and you make it look kind of good. And then later you would learn how to add ads or meaning. Like if you load up, say, Candy Crush Sega, while it's loading, it gives you a tip of the day. So while it's loading, I mean, it's only one tip, so you have to be a really slow reader to just sit there and look at that. But that's the idea. You can do a tip of the day, or come by this other game that's like this that I've made, or whatever you want. So here's your splash screen, and it's just a normal form, so you, of course, can stick pictures on it if you want. A picture box, and you can load it with a picture, whatever you feel like. But again, when I run it, I'm still seeing this form. So how do you get around that? Well, you go to your project, Properties. And in the top tab is Application. And just look around here. Now, you guys have already been adding new icons to your forms as well, and I'll come back to that. Because you can see here the default icon. We're going to deal with that in a minute. So right now, the startup form, I have Splash About, which is Form 1 actually, but I want to change it to my splash screen. So change your startup form to your splash screen, and then run your program. And now I see this one. But when I close it, I don't see my game. So how do I see my game? So basically you're going to need to write some code on your splash screen. So everybody go to your splash screen. And a couple things can happen. How would you go from a splash screen to the game? When you guys play a game, what do? You can click a button and this would go away, you can load your game. What about just sitting there and waiting for a certain length of time? All of those are good. So let's do them all. First of all, add a timer. And you should still name stuff. This is TMR unload. And you decide you're going to turn it on, so it's going to be enabled. And you need to decide how long do you want them to look at your splash screen. So let's say 3 seconds. So that interval would be 3000. Okay, so here's what I did. I named it, I enabled it, and I gave it an interval of 3000. Now I need some code. Okay, so what? The timer goes off after 3 seconds. What's it going to do? Well, it's going to unload me. Me being my splash screen. The next thing I wanted to do, actually, sorry, wrong version, me.close. The next thing I wanted to do is say form1.show. And it doesn't like form1, so splashabout.show works better. So I have me.close and splashabout.show. So you can give that a try. 1, 2, 3, and didn't quite work. So maybe we need to swap these around. 1, 2, 3, and it still didn't quite work. Okay, so it should be me.hide instead of me.close, because close closes the whole app. And now my timer is running. And I need to shut the timer off. Okay, so I'm going to shut the timer off. I'm probably going to do that first. 1, 2, 3, and there we go. And now your game can run and do whatever. Okay, so that's with the timer. If you choose to have it so that you can also, press a key, that's easy. Everybody go to your splash screen, double click your form. And I'm going to close that, I don't need it. This one here. So I don't want form load, I actually want form key press. Okay, I don't want the form load. And so I want to tell you today that when you have method stubs in here, that's what this is, it's a method stub that you aren't using, just highlight them and delete them. But be very, very careful you don't delete your end class. And remember, undo. If you do something and a bunch of squiggly lines start yelling at you, undo it. So in your key press, I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to show the other form and me.hide without the timer. So when you run it and I press a key on the keyboard, it right away goes away. Okay, and the last thing would be mouse click. So same thing, just go up to your events here and choose mouse click and copy paste these 2 lines of code. So now when I run it, if I click my mouse, boom, it goes away. Okay, I'm actually going to put the timer off in these as well. Okay, so the next part I want to do is an about box. So on your project, that's this boring gray one, I want you to add a menu, a menu strip, and you can have whatever you want here, but I'm going to simply have in here about. And I will do this so you can see. So you choose menu strip and then just type the word about and leave the other boxes blank. So when you run your program, you're going to see about. But when you click it, nothing happens because we haven't coded it. Okay, stop your program from running. Double click about. I'm going to show you a different kind of message box than you've maybe used before. And it's message box dot show, and then in here it tells you to put in some text. So text is always in double quotes, and you can say programmed in whatever, you can say whatever you want here. This is your about screen. Okay, and you can leave it at that. I'll come back to that. Run your program and test your about. Oh, and actually, of course, I did put that in the wrong form. I want to be in splash. This one is where I meant to put it. So, menu strip, about, double click it. There we go. Oh, that's not what I want either. Message box, dot show, and then in quotes, okay. So when I run it, there's my splash, 1, 2, 3, there's my form, and there's my about. Okay, so while I have you here, I want you to copy this message box and paste it below itself. Stop yourself from running if you are. And comment out the first one. And then I want you to go in here, and I'm going to show you can make this a lot better. Put in a comma. And now if you read the bold help, it says there's a caption. So I'm going to say splash for splash about. You can put whatever you want. You'll see where it goes. And I'm going to close that parenthesis. No, it isn't my splash. This is my main form. I keep getting mixed up. The caption is going to be splash about. I'm going to run my program. And 1, 2, 3, here's my form, choose about, and it didn't work. So there we go. 1, 2, 3, about. Now you can see the splash about. That's a caption. Caption is the old word for text. You've been using the text property all along to change the text in the title bar. In VB6, it was actually called the caption. So they're still using that in the help here. Okay, we're going to put a third kind in. So copy, paste, comment out the first two. So one more thing we can add is another comma, and now it's asking what buttons we want. I'm just going to click OK. So now I have a message box with 3 different arguments in it. So I have my text, which is my prompt, my caption, and these buttons, which it was already doing that, but you could have changed them. So if I run it, 1, 2, 3, main form, press about, it's the same button you saw before, but you could pick a different button. So just for fun, it doesn't really make sense. I'll say I want retry cancel. And I'll run it. And there, retry cancel. Now, one more time. Copy. Paste, comment out, and one more comma, and this time you can pick an icon. Once you add that next comma, your choices will be an icon. As soon as you hit the comma, the next choice pops up. So now when I run it, I get it was a warning, so it beeped at me as well. Okay, and you can see the different icons that you can have there. So that's the 4 different kind of styles of message box that you guys should know about. You can actually, of course, if I hit retry, my program will do something different than if I hit cancel. And you will learn to program that later. very soon actually. But the last thing I wanted to do with you was I want you to go to your main form and I want you to set an icon. I want you to grab the first icon you find. Don't take too long. Over here, just add an icon, which you're all familiar with doing. Okay, so I've added this clock as an icon. And that's fine. And when I run it, I see it. Not here, it's on the other form. And there it is. However, ultimately, you are going to package up your projects and distribute them for other people to install. And you should know that you don't normally give away your source code, right? Your source code is this stuff. And you don't give it away because you don't want them taking it, modifying it, and making more money off it than you do. But we give them a compiled project. So this is where you need to get familiar with what's going on in your what's going on behind the scenes. So everybody go out to Visual Studio, to your documents. You got to get to your documents, go to Visual Studio. Oh, by the way, you need to save this first. I'm going to save mine on the shared drive for you to use. And inside of Visual Studio, you'll see a projects folder. And in there, you'll find the project you just made, which is called Splash and About. However, I copied and pasted mine. I'm putting mine on the shared drive. I want you to go inside of Splash and About, or whatever you called it, and follow me. The first thing you see is all this stuff. Keep going. Go into the next folder. So you're inside the Splash About folder. And now you see all this stuff. Okay? Keep going. Go into the bin folder. Now go into the debug folder. You will see an exe here. Go ahead and double click it. And you will see that it's your project running. Now go up a level. Inside of bin, there was also a release folder. Go inside of your release folder. And right now it's empty because we haven't built it, but we're going to build it. So don't close this, we're going to come back. One thing I wanted you to notice though was the beautiful icon on your Splash About. It's not very beautiful, and it's not the thing you just put there. So we need to do a couple things. Go to your Solution Explorer, right click on Splash and About, and build. Now, I believe your release folder will have files in it, including another exe. Still not a nice icon. So here's the last thing you need to do. You need to go back to your project properties, and here, where it says icon, you need to go choose the icon that you want. Aha! Now we're talking. Okay? You'll have to rebuild. So Solution Explorer, rebuild. Go back out and go into your debug folder. Oh, that didn't work. Maybe my rebuild wasn't done. Okay, so my computer had an issue and kind of froze up on me, and it was just there was too many services running or something like that. But when you run it now, 1, 2, 3, and do all your stuff, that's all good. And I didn't have to do the build, but you can do the build, stop it from running. So the idea here is that in your bin debug folder, the exe now has the icon on it, and that's, you can really see what that is if you were to, for example, copy it to your desktop, and there you go, and that's what your exe icon looks like, and it makes it a lot nicer program to look at on your desktop. And that's it for Splash About.